It's no secret that basically everyone wants to see another Pokemon Legends game happen after the incredible adventure that was Pokemon Legends Arceus. It's anybody's guess as to whether this will actually happen or not, but it sure as heck should, which is why I made a video a while ago looking at what it could be like if Unova got its own Legends game. That video was a ton of fun, so I wanted to do another with another region that would be perfect for a Legends style game, and that would be none other than Kalos. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive into what a Pokemon Legends Kalos game could be like. Today's video, with all of its fancy commissioned art, was made possible by today's wonderful sponsor, Bespoke Post. Bespoke Post is a monthly membership club that sends you really high quality products each month from unique and under-the-radar brands, providing you with some really cool stuff that is genuinely some of the highest quality product I have ever been sent for the channel. How it works is that you start by taking a quiz to let Bespoke Post get to know your preferences a little better, and then each month they will send you a box worth about $70 in total for just a fraction of that cost. You also never have to worry about getting something you don't want, as each month you can always swap which box is being sent to you, skip a month if you just need a break, or cancel anytime. I was sent a couple of boxes myself, including the Waft and Forge boxes, and I really loved the Waft box in particular because it's filled with a bunch of good smelling stuff like candles, air fresheners, and incense that smell amazing and really help to give your spaces a great overall vibe. In the Forge box, I was sent this really nice utility knife, complete with a leather sheath and everything, and you can just tell how nice it is right away, and that is the biggest thing that I noticed about these boxes, the overall quality of the products. It honestly was super impressive, so if you would like to get your hands on some awesome products like these, you can use the link in the description below, and when you use code HIPHOP20 at checkout, you're also going to get 20% off your first box. So be sure to check it out, and a big thank you to Bespoke Post for making videos like this one possible. The primary reason why Kalos would be a perfect candidate for a Legends game is because of the infamous Pokemon Z that never happened to complement Pokemon X and Y. This region never got its third enhanced version that every other region usually gets, and that resulted in a ton of things about Kalos being unexplained or unused. A Legends game would be the perfect way to address all these things and tie up all of Kalos' loose ends in a super fun way, meaning that basically, Game Freak have got a ton of material to work with already for a Legends Kalos game if they were to ever make one. Additionally, there is a ton of potential in terms of the theme of the game and how it would operate, which I am now going to showcase by showing you guys my personal ideas for what this game could be like. I've commissioned some art to showcase various ideas I have for this hypothetical game, which were done by my good friends Alestiva076 and Oscar Belmonte, and they do amazing work, so be sure to check them both out with the links in the description. Getting into the actual game idea itself now, I see a Pokemon Legends Kalos game taking place in the Renaissance, or in a Renaissance-inspired time period. This is for several reasons, such as the fact that it's one of the most significant and well-known time periods, both in Europe, where the Kalos region is based, as well as the entire world, making for the perfect setting for a period piece such as this game would be. Additionally, the word Renaissance is French, and Kalos is obviously based on France, and it also means rebirth, which obviously evokes a theme of life, which Pokemon X and Y were all about, so this scenario couldn't really work any better if it tried. It even lines up pretty well with the timeline of the Kalos region, as around 800 years before the events of X and Y is when Xerneas and Yveltal went into hibernation and reverted into their tree and cocoon forms that we see in the games by releasing and absorbing life energy all across Kalos. Meanwhile, the Renaissance took place around 500 to 600 years ago in the 14 and 1500s, meaning that that element of Kalos' backstory could actually legitimately be addressed in this title, which we're going to get into a little bit later. With the setting established, this game would begin with you choosing from either Oliver or Ivania to play as during your adventure. As you might be able to tell, they are the ancestors to Calum and Serena, the player characters from Pokemon X and Y. Since those two get their names from the words calm and serene respectively, Oliver and Ivania basically do the same thing, as Ivania means peaceful and Oliver refers to an olive branch, which is a classic symbol of peace. The names also have a kind of European flavor to them and an aged sound to them as well, at least in my opinion, which I feel like makes them a good fit for this sort of scenario. While you will be playing as a familiar face, however, you won't be playing this game as the typical Pokemon trainer, at least not in the traditional sense. That's because you're actually going to be acting as a detective and investigating some troubling mysteries that have recently come to the forefront in Kalos. The impact of the launching of the ultimate weapon is still being felt, and the region is very much out of balance. The locals know that the legendary Pokemon Zygarde is supposed to restore order to the region whenever things are thrown out of balance, but for some strange reason, it hasn't appeared. Additionally, a strange phenomenon known as Mega Evolution has been appearing in the region as well. It is believed that it too has something to do with the Ultimate Weapon's launch, but not much is known about it, and it has the people of Kalos concerned. That's why you have been recruited by Detective Seamus of the newly formed International Police in order to help solve these mysteries. Seamus is none other than the ancestor of Looker, and he gets his name from the word Seamus, which is another word for a detective. He is also not only a member of the International Police, but also the founder of it, as it was established by Seamus in order to help bring order to this tumultuous time in Kalos, as well as keep an eye out for AZ, who not much is known about, but it is known that he is connected to the Ultimate Weapon in some way, and it's also known that he travels far and wide across the world, prompting Seamus to establish this international police force that can have a presence in multiple regions in order to hopefully apprehend AZ and figure out his connections to Kalos' problems. Despite Looker being a character that debuted in the Sinnoh region, his ancestor would be a perfect fit to have in a game like this, as not only was he not given an ancestor character in Legends Arceus for some reason, but also because the first private detective ever was a Frenchman by the name of Eugene Francois Vidocq, who also happened to found France's National Police, which correlates to Looker's character as both a detective and a member of a police force perfectly, and not to mention it fits the Renaissance vibe of this concept perfectly as well, in addition to just being a really cool way, in my opinion, of explaining the origins of the International Police. As the head detective, Seamus would be acting as this game's professor character and would be the one who gives you your starter Pokemon in order to help with your detective work. The starters in this game, in contrast to Legends Arceus and my Legends Unova concept, would simply consist of the Kalos starters, Chespin, Fennekin, and Froakie, instead of starters from various regions. This is ultimately due to the game's focus on Mega Evolution as the primary form of new Pokemon that would be introduced in this game, which we will get into in a little bit, but also I thought that it would be a good idea to kind of just switch things up ever so slightly so that the Legends formula doesn't get too formulaic and it can stay as fresh and exciting as possible. With that said though, once you've got your starter from Seamus and have been given your orders to investigate the mysteries surrounding Zygarde and Mega Evolution, your primary objective in this game would be to travel around the region exploring various leads in order to solve these mysteries. Eventually, you would come to discover that the reason why Zygarde hasn't yet appeared to restore order is because its cells have been split apart, and therefore part of the game would have you exploring Kalos in order to find all of Zygarde's cells in order to restore its complete form, similar to the way that this is done in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon. However, along with restoring Zygarde to its former glory, you would also be following up on various leads concerning reports of Mega Evolution. I imagine that this would operate very similarly to the noble Pokemon concept from Legends Arceus, where we would be introduced to new Warden-like characters who would mostly be ancestors of modern-day characters, and they would either be tasked with containing these Mega Evolved Pokemon themselves, or they would be calling upon you to come help save the day, since these Mega Evolutions have recently been running amok and no one really knows why or how to deal with them. This would be the way that the game would introduce brand new Mega Evolutions, effectively meaning that this game would be the grand return of Mega Evolution itself, right back where it all started in the Kalos region. You would battle with these new Megas in basically the same way you battle noble Pokemon in Legends Arceus, and over the course of exploring the region and quelling these Mega Evolved Pokemon, you would come to discover that your starter, Chespin, Fennekin, or Froakie, also has the ability to Mega Evolve, eventually giving you access to Mega Chestnut, Mega Delphox, and Mega Greninja. They would all remain the same types as their base forms, but would finally give the starters of the Mega Evolution generation some Mega Evolutions of their own. Another thing that would happen in this Legends Kalos concept, meanwhile, has to do with the Eternal Flower Floette. The fact that it was never distributed like it was planned to be is one of the biggest unsolved mysteries of Pokemon X and Y, and just Pokemon in general, so that would definitely be addressed and made right in this concept, and hopefully in the real thing as well if that ever happens. Floette wouldn't appear to AZ in this game in order to not mess with the events of X and Y, but I could see it appearing to you at some point during your adventure as sort of a subplot, and kind of setting the stage for what ultimately takes place in the modern Kalos games. In order to properly fix what didn't happen in X and Y though, you would need to be able to actually obtain the Eternal Flower Floette, so maybe it would come to you at some point during your adventure and would want to join your team, as it would be able to sense your pure intentions to want to help the Kalos region recover from the actions of its former trainer, and ultimately wants to help you in that effort as well. I think that premise, executed through some sort of side quest or subplot, would actually be a really great way to finally solve the Eternal Flower Floette problem, while also still getting to actually be a part of the narrative of a game like this, instead of being relegated to an event where it just kind of is tacked on after the fact. So, with Floette joining your team, you would continue to quell rampaging Mega Evolutions and finding Zygarde cells until finally you found all of the Zygarde cells. This would restore Zygarde to its complete form just in the nick of time, as once you completed this part of the game, the most powerful Mega Evolutions of all would make their appearance: Mega Xerneas and Mega Yveltal. These Pokemon would attain these mega forms by being infused with the power of the ultimate weapon, but due to the immense power that these Pokemon already have, their mega forms, especially Yveltal's mega form since it's the death Pokemon, would threaten to wipe out the Kalos region entirely. This is when you, with the newly restored Complete Zygarde, would come to the rescue, using Complete Zygarde to take on either Mega Xerneas or Mega Yveltal in order to restore balance to the Kalos region once and for all, and finally giving us that Pokemon Z climax with Complete Zygarde actually in a Kalos game that we've been robbed of for all these years. Upon defeating Xerneas or Yveltal, this would be the event that caused them to release all of their energy and go into hibernation in their tree or cocoon forms that we see in the modern Pokemon X and Y. And this shift in energy could also be what explains the lack of the new Mega Evolutions that are introduced in this game in the modern day. In this day and age, there could be so much energy permeating the region that it gave these Pokemon Mega Evolutions, but upon Xerneas and Yveltal going into hibernation, it quelled that energy, no longer allowing these certain Pokemon to Mega Evolve, and ultimately setting the stage for what would eventually take place years later in Pokemon X and Y. So that's my idea for what a Pokemon Legends Kalos game could be like. But what did you guys think of this? Let me know in the comments below, and let me know any other ideas you might have for a game like this as well, and anything you would like to add. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new for more, and until the next one, as always, thank you all so much for watching this one. I really appreciate it, and I will smell you guys later.